So this is Wednesday, February 18th, 2015. I'm Pam Stern, and I'm with Michelle Law and Denise Block in the Local 502 Longshore Hall. Thanks, Denise.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really happy to talk to you about longshoring and how you became a longshoreman, and wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about how you happened to become a longshoreman.
I knew a couple friends that were down here before I came down, and they said, "Oh, well, come on down." I said, "Oh, I don't know if I could do that." And they said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Well, I just don't know if I could do it." And they said, "Well, just come on down." I said, "Well, okay, I'll try it." So I decided to come down and to the New West Hall in New West, and I looked around and I seen all these big board of plates, and then I seen a cage at the wicket, and I looked around, and all I seen was guys standing around and people talking and need a job here and need a job there. And looked around and walked back out. About 10 years later, I decided to come back. And I came back, and that's when we had to put our names in the bucket for a job. You put your names in a plant bucket, and then they drew names for people that wanted to work. So, I got a piece of cardboard and, put my name on there and put it in the bucket and hoping to get a job. Well, that wasn't so. Not at that time, because they didn't want to hire women. And, so I did that a few times, and you had people shoving and pushing and trying to get their names in, and, you put your name on the top, and guess where it ended up? Ended up on the bottom of the pile, not the top. So there were some people that got a bit creative, I guess, and, put 2 or 3 of their names in. Same names. I thought, that's a good idea. But then I'm sure they found it out that they had, more than one name in the bucket, and they didn't get chosen. So, I went down for 6 months, every day, all day long. That was a long time to wait. And I remember being in the hall one day. There was me and an East Indian. My heart was just pounding, though, waiting for that job. And we couldn't see who gets picked because it's behind the wicket, right? So you can't see what's going on. But he got picked, and I'm still standing there, waiting. And it was hard at that time to watch everybody go to work. Meanwhile, you're still sitting there with no job, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was one time where I was wondering why everybody went out, out the door. Meanwhile, I'm still standing there waiting for a job, and there's nobody to be found. Well, they're all hiding outside. Meanwhile, while I step out to go get a coffee or something, come back, there'd be a job gone. So I wouldn't have a job. because the job's already taken, right? So that was kind of hard, but it made me stronger because every day I didn't go, it made me that much harder to go for a job or stay there. You know, it wasn't easy. When I did get my first job, it was doing sacks at Westnow. That was with coffee beans, lentils, peas, and they were over my weight. They were like 130-pound sacks that you had to do. They were all the sacks were all in a rail car, and you had to take them out. You had to do a quota of, I believe it was 1,200 sacks per 2 guys. And, well, there was just no way of me doing that quota. But I had to figure out a way to do the sacks. So most guys, they would start at the front of the pile and they would throw it over their shoulders and put it on a pallet. Well, I couldn't do it that way. I didn't have the strength, for one thing. And it took a lot of strength. So I had to make it all level in the rail car and start at the back. And started the back and pull one from the back pile to the front and put it on a pallet. And that's how I managed to do that. I couldn't start at the front and work my way back. So there had to be an easier way, which, yeah, started at the back and worked my way to the front, right? And that was hard, right? I mean, I could never do the quota. But, you know, I was there all day. Most guys were out of there at noon. You know, when they finished, between 2 guys, they were out at lunchtime. Meanwhile, I was still there. Well, that was fine by me. I mean, as long as I stayed with it, right? That was the main thing. You know, I had the BA and everybody, all the guys were watching me down there work, but I didn't see them. I didn't see them, right? That they were watching me. But they were watching me. And I had Al Puckmeyer come down and watch me as the BA. And they, the company said, "Oh, you can come down here and work anytime." I said, "Oh, gee, thanks," right? Then the next thing I know, they put in a letter saying that they didn't want me down there because I'd get hurt. So I went back to the hall, and I told them, I said, "You're going to give these guys 2 weeks' work and you ain't going to give me nothing?" I said, "What kind of crap is that? I need a job. I want a job. You know, that's what I came down here for." You know, so eventually as soon as I got my job on the dock, my first job, they gave me a man number. But before then, I didn't have a man number.
Okay.
Yep. So.
Okay. Do you remember what year that was that you got registered?
That was November 1994.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's when I started. Yep.
And the when you were doing the coffee sacks or the lentils, the guys were working with partners. And did you have a partner?
I did, but he was kind of hiding in the shed.
Goodness.
Yeah, he was kind of hiding in the shed on a lift truck. And he was twice the size of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did it took you 6 months to get your first job? What made you persevere? What made you keep coming back to the hall?
Because I looked at everybody around me. And I thought to myself, well, these guys are here. They're not going away. So why should I go away? Right? There's got to be something to it. Right? And where else can you make $20 an hour back then?
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't. Anywhere. I used to go to construction sites asking for a job. They'd just laugh at me in my face. I said, well, look, you can hire me. I'll work for nothing. If you don't like me, you don't have to hire me. But if you like the way I work, then hire me for that work, for that week. I remember going into a restaurant, and the boss said to me, he goes, I came in for a dishwashing job, and in the back where the dishwashing room is, they had racks to put cups and glasses and everything up top. I said to them, I said, I want a job. And they said, well, you're too short. I said, no, I'm not too short. They said, well, you can't reach the top racks where the glasses and cups go. I said, I'm sure I'll find a way. I said, I'll work for nothing for a week. I just need a job. You know, if you like me, you can hire me. If you don't, don't. So I kept going there every day. Finally, they hired me. And, yeah, but every time I was late, they'd dock me pay. 25 cents here, 50 cents here. Because I hate getting up in the morning, eh? Didn't like that.
And so when you started longshoring, you didn't have any family connections at all. It was friends that suggested you do it?
Yep. Friends, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did they think there would be a problem with a woman getting a job longshoring?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Because they didn't have any at that time.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And when did you become a member?
November 2002.
Okay, so it took about 8 years then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And which terminals do you work at now?
I work at Deltaport now.
Mm-hmm.
But before I worked everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I did the car ships. I worked at West Shore for a week and a half.
Okay.
As an operator.
Uh-huh.
I did multi-trailer. I do dockman on the rail now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what ratings do you have?
I don't have any ratings except for dockman.
Okay.
Yep. That's the only rating I got right now.
Okay. Is that your choice?
That is my choice, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you describe what a dockman on the rail does?
You're in a truck and one person drives the truck and the other person is up top on a rack, sits up there, and they put stackers in the cans, four corners of the cans. You either put them in or take them out
Okay.
as you go down the rail.
Okay. And
rail cars.
Okay. And the stackers are to hook the containers together?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Because I'm trying to understand
Yep.
the difference between the stackers and the twist locks.
No, you put the stackers in and then
Uh-huh.
you have to lock them up after.
Okay.
Yes, and it keeps the containers together
Okay.
on the rail.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you drive the vehicle, or are you the one up top?
Well, we do both.
You do both. Okay.
Yep.
When you first started working, did people haze you? They test you on the job?
I don't know if it was so much as doing that as supposedly seeing if I could do the job. Right? I mean, there was a bit of that, but I kind of laughed it off because I laughed with them, not against them,
Yeah.
because that made it more easier.
Yeah.
More easier to go along with them.
And back then, were you still working in gangs? In the
Yes.
gang system?
Yes, we were.
What were the gangs like back then?
Well, I mean, they were fairly big. You know, I mean, at times we had, you know, maybe 10 to 12 gangs, right? So it was a fair amount of jobs, right, that they had going out. You know, some days were busy, other days, you know, weren't so busy. I remember a couple of the guys telling me that, you know, our port wasn't that busy, that we'd have to go to Vancouver to work. Well, I didn't really like that idea of working at a different port because you're used to your own port. You don't want to, not that you're against anything, you just feel more comfortable at your own port rather than somebody else's port. But there was a few times where I had to go to Vancouver to get a job. And I remember this one time I went into the Vancouver hall and they had a lineup of people. And so I'm standing in line, and because we had to sign up on a sheet before we got a job. And I remember standing in line, and this guy behind me says, "Oh, could I borrow your pen?" I thought nothing of it. I handed him my pen, and then in the meantime he goes and buds in front of me. I said, "Hey buddy," I says, "you better get behind me." He says, "Why?" I said, "Well, I just gave you my pen. I didn't say bud in front of me." So I said, "Give me my pen back." And well, it wasn't the greatest thing, but you know, he pushed me, I pushed him. I wasn't really scared, you know, but it might have been a little bit different because I was at somebody else's port. But nothing came of it really after that. I just got angry because he butted in front of me. And, you know, some days you just gotta stand up for yourself.
Yeah. Did anybody back you up?
I can't really remember if they did or not, but nothing really came of it, right? He just shoved me and I pushed him back. And that was one day where I had to work at lead, doing lead. Because if you worked doing the lead ships, they wouldn't take guys with beards. So
Why
Why?
is that?
I guess something because you have to wear a mask,
Oh, okay.
and so the mask wouldn't securely fit over their beards. So I thought to myself, the day after I did that, I thought, well, you know what, I'll fix them. I'll come in with a fake beard. Right? But that never happened, though. But it would have been a great one to do,
Uh-huh.
right? Just to see what would happen,
Mhm.
right? But I never got the chance.
Okay.
Were there any commodities that you like handling or any particular jobs that you like to do?
I preferred wire rod over pipe.
Why is that?
Why? Because it was easier for me. I found, shorter I could get, inside the wire rod easier,
Mm-hmm.
and it wouldn't bother me as much. As some guys. Some guys are taller, so of course they had sore backs by the end of the day. So I didn't mind wire rod. I'd do wire rod rather than pipe or whatever, right? I didn't care to do lashing. No, I did do lashing when I had to,
Uh-huh.
but that's not my preferred job,
Uh-huh.
right? I don't really care to do lashing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the other women that I talked to said the same thing about the guy that you said about the guy standing around watching her work. When did that stop?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, I never really paid attention to that, right? You know what I mean? I just did whatever I had to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it never really
Mhm.
bothered me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And at lunchtime, did you eat with the people in your gang?
Oh yeah, we did that, or some of us went, out for lunch or wherever, right? Came back, we didn't necessarily stay together. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
people went, might have went to their cars or, went out to eat somewhere, or,
Mm-hmm.
Would you hang out with your gang after work?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. We'd do that. We'd sit around and that, right? Yeah, we did that.
Yeah. How did you learn to do the particular jobs? Did somebody show you, or?
Yeah, if we didn't know what was going on, we'd ask another member to show us or help us with the job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And would in your gangs would there be old timers in your gang, or would they be people around your kind of your rank in the union?
There was members, but I mean, there was also younger people too. Our age. You know what I mean. The older guys with more seniority, they would pick the better jobs. Which was fine because they were entitled to that.
Mm-hmm.
The better jobs if I did steel for 3 years down below because there was no Delta Port.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was that or doing heavy sacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
But,
And what does doing steel involve?
sometimes there was plate,
Uh-huh.
steel plate. It was pretty thick. Where you needed clamps, 4 clamps on either side. Sometimes bigger. Sometimes you'd have 8 clamps
Mm-hmm.
total,
Uh-huh.
4 on each side or more than that. 4 on each side and then the 2 ends to do heavy plate. There was that. There was, there was pipe. Not just small bundled pipe, but there was big, huge pipe too
Uh-huh.
that you had to do.
Uh-huh.
Finger pipe, as they'd call it.
Uh-huh.
I didn't really care to do that, but I still did it, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Way back when,
Yeah.
when a member said do something, you did it, right? You didn't argue, you didn't complain,
Mm-hmm.
you just did it.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's
Yeah.
the way it was back then,
Yeah.
you
How-
know.
How long did it take until you got to choose the kind of jobs you wanted to do?
That's kind of a hard question to answer because, you know, it varies. I mean, even today, you know, with seniority, you know, yeah, you have 12 years seniority, you don't get some of the jobs that you may want
Mm-hmm.
still,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I mean, you just have to wait,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, there's some jobs that you can get, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but there's other jobs that you gotta wait.
Okay. Do you get as many hours as you want now?
Yes, you can get as many hours as you want now, yes.
Okay. And you work days or swing shift or nights?
I did do afternoons for 10 years, and now I just do days. Yeah.
Okay.
How old were you when you started longshoring?
I was 29. Yeah.
Did your longshore friends give you advice?
There was a few of them, you know. There was other ones too that, you know, that didn't want me here, but that wasn't my intention. My intention was to come down and do a job.
Mm-hmm.
That was my main thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I wanted to do was work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't really matter to me at the time with whether they liked me or hated me or, you know, or
Mhm.
I just did it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter to me what they thought,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Do let's see, what did I want? I wanted to ask. Would you encourage your daughter to become a longshoreman?
If she wanted to, sure. If you wanted to do that, you could do whatever you want to do, right? Right? You just have to be strong, right? Strong up here, right? Think every day. Every day you can be whatever you want to do, right? If you want to drive a plane, you can drive a plane, right? That's the main
Yeah.
thing. You just got to put your mind to it.
Yeah.
You can do anything you want to do, as long as you put your mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who's gonna stop you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to look at the whole picture,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
When you were, going to the hall for the first 6 months, where did you live in Westminster?
I lived in Coquitlam.
In Coquitlam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And did you grow up in Coquitlam?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michelle lives in Coquitlam.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I grew up there. I grew up in Coquitlam.
And how would you go to the hall? I guess you just drive to the hall, right? Every morning?
Well, sometimes. I mean, you know, there was times where you had car failures and this and that. And, you know, you wouldn't quite make it there in time. You know, there was always a way, whether you walked or took the bus or, you know, there was always a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And were you waiting for the next woman, more women to start longshoring?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there was more. I mean, you know, that's the thing, right? I used to tell them that, hey, look, you don't have to work with your wife. You don't have to work with your girlfriend, you know, sister, brother, you know, your aunts. You don't have to work with them, right? You know, why not get them down here? You know, but all they thought of was, well, I don't want my wife down here. Well, you don't have to work with them, right? They would never work with you. You know, they'd be somewhere different on a job.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that you got to think about, right? Is you know, all they're thinking about is, well, they're coming down here and they're gonna see what I do, and I don't want them to see that. Well, they're not gonna see it because they're busy doing a different job. You know, if you're a member, you got more seniority than what they do, right? So they're never really gonna work with you. They'll have their own section of where they want to work, right? So that you can't be scared. I mean, you know, that's the thing. You gotta, you know, you gotta be smart, right? You know, not just thinking the way guys do, right? You know, I told them, I says, you know, bring your wife down here, bring your sister down here. Oh no, we can't do that. Yeah, you can do that. You know, because why not? I mean, why have her sit at home making $10 an hour when she could make double? You know, help each other. You know.
Can you, so you worked before Deltaport opened. Can you talk about, did the union change when Deltaport opened? Or?
Yeah, it changed. It changed.
In what ways did it change?
I think the way you look at the whole big picture, right? I don't know, just the way they do things, right? Because it's a bigger company, right? So there's a lot more things to deal with, right? Than just dealing with, you know, a couple different companies. You got this big, huge company that employs, how many would you say?
Now,
Yes.
200 every shift,
At least.
Yeah,
200 plus every shift.
there you go. Compared to maybe 100,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere else on,
Okay.
on other docks, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a big, big difference.
Yeah.
And the Deltaport, that's where the big machines were. Did that, you know, how did you feel possibly working on really big, you know, machines?
I was just gonna cry. I haven't had-
It never really bothered me too much. I mean, I went up in the cranes once, but I didn't really care for it
Yeah.
because I couldn't really. I tried the gantry. I couldn't really get the swing on the gantry, so it made me mad. I couldn't go get it right. But I mean, mind you, I wasn't up there for very long. If I had more time, I probably would do a bit better. It looks so much easier down below than it does driving, right? So, I mean, when you're on the ground, you think, and you look up, and Crystal's up there, and she's driving away, and I look up, and it's like, yeah, that looks pretty easy. And when I go up there and I get up there and try and do it myself, it's like, no, it won't work.
It's pretty hard to me.
Well, it takes practice, right? A lot,
Yeah.
quite a while, right? I mean, I'd like to try it again one of these days, right? But I don't think that's my preferred job.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather be on the ground,
Uh-huh.
right? Same as in the RTG,
Uh-huh.
because you get dizzy.
Oh,
I
okay.
find when I'm up there,
Okay.
you know, the
Rubber tire gantry. Yeah.
no,
Is
no,
that
not
what
the
the-
rubber
oh,
tire.
oh.
No, RTG. Yeah, rubber tire gantry, yeah.
You know, okay.
I find that when you're gantrying and trolling at the same time, it throws me for a loop. So I did that once in the RTG, and no, it's not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I prefer to be on the ground.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had to train anybody?
Maybe on bomb cart, which is a multi-trailer.
Uh-huh.
I did that. Not for very long. Like you
Mhm.
used to take guys that were learning and you tell them how to do the job and this
Mhm.
and that. But no, not for really anything except for that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Do you go to annual picnics or any of the locals events outside of?
I did a couple years ago. When my kids were smaller, I used to go, right?
Mhm.
I did go to them, right? But kind of locked up a bit, I guess. But it'd be nice to go again.
Okay.
What do you like about longshoring?
I like that you can do different jobs. Not the same job all the time. Right?
Mhm.
It's, and the people.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
yeah, is there anything you dislike about longshoring?
I'll take no comment on that.
Okay. Okay. All right. I want to ask about the term longshoreman. So a couple of the women I've talked to say, wanted me to make sure I understood that they wanted to be called longshoremen. What do you feel about that?
You know what? It doesn't really bother me. I don't think we should change it for anything.
Okay.
Really, I don't, because that's the way it's always been.
Uh-huh.
And why should we change it?
Okay.
I've never asked for any changes.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fact when I did bomb cart and I was pregnant, I told them that I would only drive a 200 series compared to 400 series bomb cart, because in the 400 series bomb cart you bounced around too much,
Mhm.
a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and in the 200 series you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only thing I stipulated
Mhm.
then. So
Okay. Did they have maternity leave? I know they do now.
yeah, yes, they did.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wanted it to be for both, not just for women. I wanted it
Paternity
for
leave as
men
well.
too, right?
Mhm.
Why not?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was kind of a great thing for both.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my kids, Dad took 4 months, and I
Mhm.
took the other half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was important, right?
Mhm.
And now you see both sides taking it, which is great, I think, because why should it just be one-sided?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see it.
Okay.
Were there any other jobs that you didn't want to do, or any machines you didn't want to do when you were pregnant?
No, it was mostly bomb cart. Yeah. Mostly tractor trailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And back then it was 3 trailers that you drove. That if you wanted to, you could drive 3 trailers instead of just one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You have any other questions?
Do you have any other family members now that are longshoremen?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I have a sister-in-law and 2 brother-in-laws. Yep.
And did you help them start longshoring, or did they?
No, one was already down here as
Okay.
a member,
Okay.
and yeah, and the other 2 are just coming up now.
Oh, okay.
For membership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Yep.
And I guess today it's totally fine to be a woman who's a longshoreman here.
Sure, I think it's great, right? I think that, you know, we need more women. That's what I think, right? Makes us stronger.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think, right?
Mhm.
And it balances it out,
Mhm.
you know, but I feel it's better to have more women, you know, and it evens it out a little bit more, you know?
Yeah.
And if they can do the job, why not?
Okay.
No?
Is it still a physically demanding job?
It depends what you're doing. There's different jobs that don't require physical,
Mhm.
you know, requirements, you know, as opposed to mathematical, on the job, such as checking.
Mhm.
That's not really physical.
Mhm.
It's more or less, you know, mental and using your math skills
Mhm.
for checking. You know, of course, lashing, that's physical,
Mhm.
right? That's, you know, that's a pretty heavy-duty job, right?
Mhm.
You know, RTG, well, that's just, you know, common sense, right?
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, sure, it takes a drain mentally and, you know, a little bit physically, but not so much.
Mhm.
Same as RM, you know, it's more, I mean, it could be both, right? Because you do, you know, you do have to watch out for everything, right?
Mhm.
Around you when you're working.
Mhm.
Common
What's
sense,
What's
right?
RM?
Is rail-mounted gantry.
Oh, okay.
It's on the rails.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, you just have to be more aware, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, dockman job isn't so much, you
Mhm.
know, yeah, sure, you're doing stuff, but it's not
Mhm.
the great physical, like down below on steel,
Mhm.
wire rod, all those jobs,
Mhm.
you know, those are more physical, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you feel it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, driving a bomb cart, well, you know, that's not physical, it's just driving,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
it takes a toll on you when you're always, you know, having to look at behind your shoulder,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
Have you ever found the work dangerous?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, what particular jobs?
Um,
Or maybe perhaps even weather conditions, even.
Well, I mean, high beam, that's pretty dangerous, right? High beam pipe, steel plate,
Mhm.
right? 'Cause you're in a hatch, you got nowhere to run but the corners of the hatch. So, I mean, there's been times where you've had a load coming out and it breaks. Well, you better run,
Mhm.
Wow.
right? You better run.
And these are jobs at Fraser Surrey Dock, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Fraser Surrey, yes.
Yeah.
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 Or it could be a Delta Port too, doing cans. You're in the hatch down below and something happens to the crane, right? You're
Mhm.
down below.
Mhm.
Well, at least somewhere, you've got somewhere to run down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if you're doing plate of steel, you only got 4 corners to run at.
Mhm.
So you better find a door pretty quick.
Mhm.
You better know where that door is.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Do you have any other questions?
No. Is there anything you want to share? Any stories or any good memories?
Uh, I don't know. There's been lots of times. I don't know. Well, I don't know if you can put it on there, but
If you want, I'll turn it off.
yeah, that might be an idea.
Okay.
Well, I felt really proud that I actually made it that far.
Yeah.
You know, it took a long time, and you know, I was just happy that I made it. You know, I'm happy for all the other women that, you know, that will make it and follow in my footsteps.
Mhm.
Because it's a great job.
Mhm.
Yeah. And how did you celebrate?
I drank lots.
Yeah.
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 Smoked lots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's good.
That must have been quite something when you were saying the oath in front of the whole membership.
It was, right? I mean, you know, maybe some guys didn't agree with me, but some guys shook my hand, and, you know, I just couldn't believe that, you know, they were doing that, right? Because before that, they didn't want me there, you know, and then all of a sudden they're shaking my hand, right?
Mhm.
Congratulating me, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, like I
Mhm.
say, it felt good, and, you know, I just hope that, you know, it keeps going, and, you know, we'll have more women here, and
Mhm.
it will be good.
All right. Do you remember who was president when you first got registered?
It was Brian Ringrose.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.